first thing is to clarify that we're not the Women's Club of Cincinnati, which is a very different entity. And it's not the same audience and membership that the Women's City Club has at all.
We're a civic organization. We differ from the League of Women Voters in that we are local, less structured. We can respond more easily to events as they come up.
I think any kind of urban community must have the benefit of as many points of view as it possibly can have. And Women's City Club, more than any other civic organization to my knowledge, has the capability of presenting itself as a teacher, as a active citizen, well-informed, eager to help. We aren't just trying to change the city. We want people to feel the attachment that they can have for each other as well as their concerns by being a member of the club.
And when new issues arise, the Women's City Club has always been among the first to spot those issues, among the first to study the issues, to develop education around the issues, educating ourselves as well as the larger community, but then also developing vehicles for advocacy to change policies and on those issues.
When they first set up the Women's City Club, they had a lot of volunteer time. They had a lot of women available, and they set up a committee structure that was parallel with City Hall, and they monitored all the committee meetings, the City Planning Committee, the Park Boards Committee.
They were concerned about the major issues that they thought the city should be acting on, and tried to influence members of council they knew, and made it their business to know.
This was before women had the right to vote, but they were looking for a role in civic affairs. So they saw themselves as housekeepers, municipal housekeepers. I think it was in 1915, between 1915 and 1920, when they set up the first planning commission in Cincinnati, and they worked on the Mayor's Friendly Relations Committee, the Hillside Trust.
It seemed to me that their motivation in even having kind of a club and the kind of programs that they had was the civic life of the city.
The Women's City Club, which began in 1915, started out doing a door-to-door survey of health issues in the West End.
The study showed that all of the houses that were down there, 80,000, were substandard. They all had outdoor toilet facilities. Only poor people lived in them. And they were located in the basin of the city, and they needed to be removed or upgraded.
The Women's City Club created the Cincinnati Metropolitan Housing Authority, the second in the country, and established the Better Housing League in 1918.
And they had no hesitation in those days to use pillow talk to get things done. So Murray Season Good, when he was mayor, his wife was a member of Women's City Club, and whenever there was an issue that was troubling people, she'd say, "I'd speak to Murray." And so that's how things would start. And so these were always women who just knew how to get things done and had a great concern for the entire community.
I was president of Women's City Club 71 to 73. I was very pleased that these women elected me to lead them. I felt that they were ahead of the times, and I admired and respected them, and I appreciated them. I was the first African-American president.
And now, because we've done reasonably well on the racial issues, I think we've done a lot of good outreach on ethnicity issues. We have increasing numbers of people from Hispanics from different Spanish-speaking areas, but also in terms of people from South Asia and other parts of Asia, especially Muslim parts of Asia that have moved into the community, and we're doing a lot of good outreach there. And now I think we're doing a really good job with outreach in terms of, if not the working poor at least people who are struggling, not comfortably middle class anymore, and bringing more of those people in, especially women, obviously, into the organization. We've done a really good job on some areas of diversity and others not so good. And I would say involving men has been the one tough nut to crack. But a relatively new diversity issue, I think, has been the generation gap, age.
We do have a challenge bringing young people into the organization. And we just started, with the League, we started a new junior membership program we call Act One. And we offered free memberships to women age 18 through 35. This is now a going part of both clubs.
We need to look at technology a lot closer. Alice Snyder has done a wonderful job with this, trying to keep us moving forward.
This is an organization with a history and women who are involved now in making a difference for the good of the community. We work on issues such as education, we've worked on city government. Women City Club members had been involved in low-income housing development, and there was always a problem in the state of Ohio.
The Ohio Supreme Court said housing is not mentioned in the Ohio Constitution. It is not a public purpose. No state funds can be used for housing. And at that time I was chairing the Housing Committee, and at the very next meeting, Mary Asbury, who is now Director of Legal Aid, said, well, then we need to change the Constitution.
It passed.
We were a part of the coalition that worked very hard on campaign finance reform.
At that time, one donor was giving $25,000 to the 7 of the 9 winning candidates, and we thought that was outrageous. So Women's City Club got behind that campaign finance reform, and eventually we made up a ballot initiative, got signatures, and went around and campaigned for it, and it passed. And so now candidates are limited to $1,000 or $1,100, so no one can come in and have undue influence.
We won that one and then turned around and lost a big chunk of it through the courts. As you know, the courts have kind of different ideas about campaign finance and speech and limits and that kind of thing.
When I became really active in Women's City Club in '91, I had 2 goals: to restart the Status of Women Committee, and that's feminism with a quotation mark, and to bring a national speaker in the town. And so our committee decided we should get Lonnie Gannier to come and talk, and it was a huge success. And not only that, the Sunday before she came, Lonnie Gannier was on the cover of the New York Times Sunday magazine, and so that was just perfect timing, you know. And we held a big press conference. Loads of the press came before the program, you know, to have a press conference with her, and it was great.
Diane Rehm was probably the most popular event we had, got the best turnout, and she did not disappoint, that's for sure.
This is one of my favorites. Jean Bonham was president, and boy, talk about an activist woman. When she was the president and I was the chair of the Status of Women Committee, she planned this kind of guerrilla action, and it was just wonderful. Jean said, let's go talk about women's issues at United Way. And let's look at the agencies that are funded by the United Way. How come the YMCA gets so much more money than the YWCA? And tell us why the Boy Scouts get so much more money than the Girl Scouts. We were so mean, but we had so much fun.
And it's only through organizations like the Women's City Club where we can come together and talk about that and see the big picture so that we can also take a stand all together. And I think that's crucial, all together. And that includes the men.
My participation was more in the arts. We had the little house down on Lido Park. We had a birthday skit on the birthday of the club. They were spoofs based upon city issues, various issues that we took up, you know. Later on, this became very elaborate. Over the years, we moved on to a large cast, and we gave the shows at the Art Museum on their stage, or maybe one of the theaters in Music Hall. We involved a lot of prominent people. We had councilmen, we had Senator Bill Bowen was in it, Sid Wah was in it, Donald Waldrop, and Tencha Friedenberg. Her husband was editor of the Post. She was in our shows. A lot of doctors and professors. I mean, there were very prominent people that took parts in this, and it was just a lot of fun.
Feisty we started 4 years ago, where we honor some of the Women's City Club members who are quietly behind the scenes doing feisty things to make the world a better place. And it is an occasion where we come together on kind of a formal basis. This is a time to socialize, wear a hat if you want to, and just meet some of the friends you haven't seen in ages. The Feisty function can pay for the education awards that are given at the Season Good Luncheon. It's high school senior females write an essay on the mission of the Women's City Club and what it means to them and what problems they see in today's world. What they would tell the Women's City Club to do, and the answers are fascinating. So we give each of three young ladies a $500 education award, which can be used toward college or toward any kinds of education.
One of our last forum, we had the U.S. Attorney from Columbus come, Carter Stewart, and he told us about the school-to-prison pipeline.
Students are placed into the criminal justice system for offenses that are trivial. Carry a pair of nail clippers to school, your mother's nail clippers, forget they're in your purse, be charged with a felony count for carrying a dangerous weapon.
I think we're the conscience of Cincinnati, and we remind people with our forums that there are still things to do, that we still need to work on poverty, education, housing, and so we continue to work on those issues and to remind people that these things still need to be done, and we continue our advocacy and on our education in these areas. So I think it's important that Women's City Club continues in this way.
We have what we call the Catalyst for Achievement Action Group. Our program right now is working in 2 inner-city schools, providing special tutoring for the kindergartners who can benefit from an intense one-on-one week.
Structures will begin to connect because they're very separate now. And there's a tremendous amount of competition for whose voice shall be heard.